This past fall, over 150 Catholic schools throughout the United States closed their doors for good. The impact of those schools closing was felt by students, by parents, alumni, and all the faculty and staff members who worked in those schools. The impact can be devastating. And communities are often angry because the schools were unable to remain open. The cause for those closing is very simple. The schools were no longer financially viable. The schools no longer had the ability to pay the heat bills, the light bills. They were no longer able to pay the salaries for their teachers, for their custodians. They were no longer able to pay for professional development for teachers. When you can't pay the bills, it's very simple. You have no choice but to close your doors. And the ripple effect of those decisions are tremendous because you are impacting the lives of people. We often hear about how important Catholic schools are, but yet we find ourselves closing. One of my greatest fears is that our Catholic schools will somehow become nothing more than a footnote in the annals of educational history in the United States. The reason for those failures is financial. If the money issues were solved, the schools could have remained open. Now, why didn't the schools have the money? In many cases, it was because of declining enrollment. So schools need to examine why they're losing students. Perhaps families were no longer able to afford the tuition. Because years ago, Catholic schools were staffed by sisters and brothers and priests whose salaries were much less than any layperson. We must make sure that we provide our teachers with a fair and just wage. And how do we do that without increasing tuition beyond the capability of our parents? It's not, and I repeat, it is not a simple solution to get our Catholic schools in a position of financial viability. The financial viability of our schools is dependent upon a process that involves planning. And you, as the leader of the school, play the key role in that. You need to set out a plan to ensure the financial viability. That includes looking at lots of different factors. Throughout this course, we'll be discussing ways to address the financial viability of our schools. But I want you to remember that when our schools close, it's not as simple as shutting the doors and saying, we're really sorry, but that's it. We are affecting the lives of young people. We are affecting the lives of all those who we have hired to work in our schools. So as principals, as administrators in our schools, what we need to do is focus on making sure that we are not one of the many schools that have closed over the past year or over the past 10 years or 15 years. It starts with a vision, and it starts with a plan. Because all of the nice platitudes that people say about our schools mean nothing if we are unable to provide the financial foundation for our schools to continue operating. We can't afford to go into deficit spending. Someone has to pay the bills. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you for listening.